We'll now start to look at equations that involve absolute values. In order to understand the general idea of solving these absolute value equations, let's start with a very, very basic example. The absolute value of x is equal to 3. So what we want to know is what numbers have an absolute value of 3? Well, we know that the absolute value of 3 is 3, and the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So therefore, I have two solutions. X is equal to plus or minus 3. X is equal to plus 3, and x is equal to minus 3. So for the general case, I'm going to consider the absolute value of u is equal to a, where u is an algebraic expression and a is greater than or equal to 0. In my basic example, I just had the absolute value of x equal to 3, but we could have something more complicated in the absolute value, such as the absolute value of x plus 3. So we know that the absolute value of u equal to a is going to be equivalent to u equal to plus or minus a. So essentially, when we're solving absolute value equations, we have two different equations to solve, u equal to a and u equal to negative a, since both a and negative a have an absolute value of a. So let's look at some examples. Here we have the absolute value of 2x plus 11 is equal to 5. So our general form says that we have two equations from this. We have 2x plus 11 is equal to 5, since the absolute value of 5 is equal to 5. And we have 2x plus 11 is equal to negative 5, since the absolute value of negative 5 is also equal to 5. With our first equation, we start by subtracting 11 from both sides. That leaves me with 2x equal to negative 6. We can then divide both sides by 2, and I get that x is equal to negative 3. So there's my first solution. So let's look at my second equation to find my second solution. We start by subtracting 11 from both sides. That leaves me with 2x equal to minus 16. We then divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to negative 8. So here are my two solutions, negative 3 and negative 8. And you can double check these. You can stick either one of these numbers back into our original absolute value equation and get a true statement. Let's look at another example. This time I have 2 times the absolute value of x plus 3 plus 7 is equal to 15. In my last example, I had an absolute value is equal to a number, and I don't have that in this case. So our first step is going to be to get the absolute value alone on one side of the equation. We start by subtracting 7 from both sides. We now have 2 times the absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 8. We can then divide both sides by 2. And we get the absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 4. From there, we can set up our two different equations. We have x plus 3 is equal to 4, and x plus 3 is equal to negative 4, since both the absolute value of 4 and the absolute value of negative 4 is equal to 4. We start by subtracting 3 from both sides. So when we do that, we get x equal to 1. For our second equation, we subtract 3 from both sides. And that gives us x equal to negative 7. So I have my two solutions, x equal to 1 and x equal to negative 7.